You know, sometimes I still feel like we're stuck in 2016, 2017. Either that or history really is a circle, but those circles tend to happen within 5 years. Because we are talking about something that I've barely talked about in the past, and that is Black Lives Matter. And the main reason for that is Black Lives Matter basically died before I started getting into YouTube and online politics. So you could say that this is a maiden voyage of me going into a Black Lives Matter type riot. But I'm going to do that anyway. So for those of you that live under a rock, I will catch you up quickly. On the screen now you have a picture of a black man having his neck pushed into the ground by a cop's knee. This black man died while trying to scream out, but struggling, "I can't breathe." And he ended up dying on the scene in a 7-minute video, while people around the cops were protesting, saying things like, "Can you please stop killing him?" Obviously not as politely as I put it, but you get the idea. Black Lives Matter have their perfect example of police brutality. It took them over 5 years, but they finally found one. And so, how do you think they reacted? Well, again, if you were living under a rock, we're going to go through exactly what the reaction was. But for the rest of you, I'm sure you're just going to be entertained by the footage. So let's get into it. What could have been a perfectly reasonable protest in honour of George Floyd and saying he deserves justice, instead it quickly descended into things like this.
This is literally the craziest stuff I've ever seen right now. This is Target right now.
Yes, the people decided to start rioting and started to raid a Target in Minneapolis. And as can be seen from the first bit of footage and the bit of footage coming up, most of these rioters appear to have a surplus of melanin. So here's some more footage of the riots and looting of Target. Although this time we actually have a hero in a wheelchair.
Move, bitch!
She's stabbing people!
Hey, hey, hey!
She got a knife!
You got it on! Get out of here! Hey, leave her alone! You got a knife! Jennifer, get the fuck!
Yes, I'm sure all these people were fearing for their life with this one fat woman in a wheelchair with a knife trying to defend Target's property. But the scenes from Minneapolis do appear to be pure chaos. This wasn't the only place that was raided, and there are plenty of pictures to be found all over the web of shops that have been raided and videos of those shops being raided. But the general tone of these riots appear to be very much just the rioters reveling in the chaos they are creating, as can be seen in this footage. It's like a scene out of The Purge. But as you saw in the background there were fire engines, and there were a lot of places on fire. In fact, according to Fox News, Minneapolis Fire Department responded to 30 intentionally set fires during the overnight protests. And according to this Fox News article, the aftermath of the fire showed an AutoZone store and an in-construction apartment building were both burned to the ground, so no wonder they have a housing crisis. While nobody was injured as a result of the fire, firefighters or civilians, the department had some of its equipment suffer damage from rocks and other projectiles being thrown by protesters. I mean, these people are mental. They want the fires to go on. That's why they were attacking the fire equipment and the firemen. I mean, it's just ridiculous. If these people want to destroy their own hometowns, or if they want to come in from another town and destroy Minneapolis, I hope to God they get what's coming to them, which, by the way, is obviously some sort of harsh jail sentence. I mean, look at this next clip. How can you justify the results of this? How can you justify this destruction? I mean, take a look.
you have a relation to this property?
Yeah.
An absolute war zone. Do you think this is going to make America less racist? Do you really? Do you think that people are now going to go, oh, you know what? I think black people are really taking this seriously. I think they really want to change police brutality. I really think they want reform. No, they're going to see you as violent revolutionaries. Problem is, you are violent revolutionaries against the American state with a constitution set in that gets a police officer who murdered George Floyd charged with murder, specifically third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. He is going to jail for a long time and is never going to be a cop again. You got your justice and you are still rioting. Almost as if you don't actually care about police brutality, you just want an excuse to be violent and riot. And the thing is as well, these rioters are absolute cowards. Look what happens when the police turn up to these riots and looters. They all run away. They're not standing up to any sort of police brutality. As soon as they see any police officers, they run. And they run because they know they are committing crimes. If they were protesting as they should be peacefully, they would stay there and stand up to them. But no, instead, they raid the police department, get all the police officers to evacuate, and then you see this clip of the aftermath. Yes, this group of rioters are a lot more diverse, and they actually seem to be trying to serve justice for George Floyd, but they seem to be doing it in a vigilante way and in a way that doesn't help anyone. You are forcing the blame of the act of a couple of officers, I think there were 4 on the scene actually. You are applying that to the entire police station, despite the fact that the justice system has already dealt with them. You got your justice through the real means, and that wasn't enough for you. You had to go off and celebrate a fire that you caused that is burning down a police precinct. I hope you are happy with yourselves, because quite frankly, I hope you all get a long jail time. And if you're not fully convinced that they are actually celebrating these riots, just take a look at this next clip. They have alcohol and fireworks. They are reveling in the chaos and celebrating because they think they're actually doing something worthwhile. The absolute pricks. Honestly, I don't think there's a lot more to say about this, apart from the fact that the riots seem to not be entirely homogenous. It seems to be about, I don't know, like Sargon said the other day, about a 3-to-1 ratio of black people to white people. Or at least black people to non-black people, we'll say. It appears to be very much a Black Lives Matter incident. I mean, obviously it is. A black guy died in a very clear-cut video of police brutality. But they don't actually seem to care about George Floyd. They seem to care a hell of a lot more about looting and rioting. Because, as I said, they seem to revel in the chaos. But there is one more interesting thing I want to say about Minneapolis, and that is This tweet from Ricardo Lopez. Apparently, black people who own businesses are putting up signs to tell the rioters it is a black-owned business, because obviously they don't want their businesses looted and they think playing the race card will help. And honestly, I'd be surprised if it didn't. But we should really get into what the mindset behind the people who support the riots are, because, as I said, they seem to revel in chaos, and it just seems to be an excuse that George Floyd died, so now they can go all violent and loot all these businesses. So here's the first clip of an actual rioter who is just straight up talking to a camera while being interviewed, just telling them why he's doing what he's doing and what he plans. Let's listen.
I just want to tell y'all niggas, this is strike 3. It's already happened. The first time, it should have happened. The second time, it should have happened. The third time, it's out, nigga. Now we going to Cobbin's house, and we gonna choke that nigga out too. We gonna fuck y'all up. Fuck them all up. Matter of fact, we got a 2-for-1 rule, nigga. One of ours, 2 of yours. Innocent motherfuckers dying, cause y'all bitch ass niggas don't want none. There's more of us than you, bitch. What's up? Exactly. We coming for y'all niggas. This is only the beginning, motherfucker. What's up? Huh? Exactly. You speechless, bitch. Because next time, this is your motherfucking house out there in Oakville. Fuck you, bitch. You don't live here. But we coming to your fucking house right now, nigga. Don't fuck out my face. Here you go, bro.
I mean, if that's not proved my point already, I don't think anything will. And obviously, I'm not going to apply this to every single rioter. I'm sure some actually do care about Floyd. But this one in particular, and I'm sure a lot of others, really don't seem to care about George Floyd, apart from the fact that in his mind it gives him justification to burn down buildings and straight up rob people. But I suppose this is what ends up happening when you live under a Democrat welfare state. But next we should look at actually some professional commentators. So here is Van Jones, Blacktivist and quote-unquote political commentator, talking to CNN. I'm just going to let this one speak for itself.
There's another reality here that you're starting to see. So even the most liberal, well-intentioned white person has a virus in his or her brain that can be activated at an instant. And so what you're seeing now is a curtain falling away. Look in the mirror at how you choke off Black opportunity, how you choke off Black dignity, how you behave. People are now fed up. People are telling me they're tired of hashtags. It's not the racist white person who's in the Ku Klux Klan that we have to worry about. And James Baldwin said it best. White people in these situations are always innocent. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Teach me, educate me, help me understand. How did this happen? Talk to me, tell me something, tell me what to do. White people are always innocent, and their innocence constitutes their crime. It is too late to be innocent.
Yep, there you go. Black people rioting is Whitey's fault because Whitey has, I quote, a virus in the brain. Apparently every white person is just predisposed to be a white supremacist, according to this Blacktivist. I mean, this is insanity. The police officer is no longer a police officer and has been charged for murder. But apparently, it's still Whitey's fault that the black people are rioting and looting. No, I don't accept that. This is not the fault of white people. This is the fault of the police officer who killed George Floyd, and this is the fault of every single rioter of every race. But the last take we'll have from the mainstream for now is that of John Boyega's, aka Finn from Star Wars. According to The Guardian, this is the title they went with. You lot can't rattle me. John Boyega defends explicit anti-racism posts in wake of George Floyd death. Right, let's see how they've actually covered this. John Boyega has been praised for a series of uncompromising social media posts speaking out about racism in the wake of the killing of George Floyd by Minneapolis police officers. Boyega's initial tweet, "I really fucking hate racists," currently has 1.3 million likes. Yes, it's amazing what can happen when you virtue signal. But came in for criticism for his hard-hitting tone and use of an expletive. The actor, whose engagement with political and social issues has increased since the conclusion of the Star Wars trilogy in which he starred, then clarified that he meant specifically white-on-black racism, the kind that has ruined the world. Sigh. So one of the examples of the racist tweets that The Guardian cites is this one from my good friend Gammon Easter worshipper. So, Gammon says, please spare a thought and light a candle for John Boyega. The majority whitey country he lives in has made life so incredibly difficult for him. By the way, buy a ticket for his new movie so his salary may increase a few million more. And so John Boyega hits back, a salary I worked hard for from nothing. Okay, that's the same for a lot of people. I also remember walking through Thamesmead, getting jumped and called an African monkey from 13. Yes, we're not saying people in England aren't racists. We're saying, in general, the average English person or British person isn't a racist. In fact, you could probably say at this point that most of them are anti-racist. You idiots that like to think my millions dictates my mind are the worst. And so Gammon replies, like I said, I've got my candle out for you right now. I mean, Gammon's got it right. Apparently, white-on-black racism has ruined the world, according to John Boyega. And yeah, if that was the case, there is no way he'd be a millionaire and working in big-budget films like Star Wars. However, apparently, John You Can't Rattle Me Boyega got so rattled, he went live on Facebook to say this.
I'll say it again. Fuck you racist white people. I said what I said. And if you don't fucking like it, go suck a dick. Seriously.
See, John, this is sort of a sentiment I can get behind. I hate racists as much as the next person. However, I don't particularly like to just single out one type of racism and say it's bad, because ultimately, morally, they're all equal. You are still unjustifiably prejudging someone and discriminating against them because of what, all their skin colour? Like, yeah, I agree that's a bad thing. However, I don't see any good reason to put white-on-black racism above any other sort of racism, especially when white-on-black crime is astronomically low, but put it the other way around, it's a lot higher, and black-on-black crime, well, that's skyrocketed. But apparently, you just want to look at the white-on-black racism. Why? Well, I'm guessing because of colonial history, which is what everyone says. But that's because basically no one knows about colonial history. But anyway, I'll leave the whole John Boyega story there. So now that we've had some hot takes from the media, I will save some for the end, because we've got to save the best till last, don't we? But I will move on to the wider effects of America from these Minneapolis riots. Basically, they've spread all over. I mean, here's a clip from Dallas where rioters just pull a black man out of a car and start to beat him up on the street. That's literally what happened. These people, again, don't care about George Floyd. They just wanted an excuse to be violent and have their victims be anyone they can get their hands on. So it's quite hard to tell from that video, but this was in Dallas, and, you know, Black Lives Matter rioters dragged a black guy out of a car to start beating him up. I mean, if that doesn't prove that they just want to be violent, and they just want to loot, and they just want to cause chaos, I don't know what else I can show you. Lucky for you, I have plenty of clips to show you anyway. Such as this next one, in which CNN decidedly went against the grain and decided to start calling them violent protesters. Yes, they are smashing the hell out of the front building of CNN in Atlanta. So already that's two cities that aren't Minneapolis, that haven't had as far as I'm aware, a recent famous viral killing of a black man by a white police officer. These riots seem to be nationwide, and they seem to be nationwide because, again, these people seem to think they are justified in doing what they do because one police officer killed one black man in Minneapolis, and he was charged with murder and manslaughter. I want to nail this point home. The police officer got what they deserved. Justice has been served. The system works. But these people want to tear it down because it seems they have nothing better to do with their lives. They seem to lack meaning, and they seem to be enabled by the welfare state. But the reasons behind all this can wait for another video, I suppose. But it is funny how CNN and the mainstream media would call these things protests until their own property starts getting damaged, and then, ooh, it's a violent protest. God knows what they need to do to call it a riot. I mean, I think the mainstream media's denial of what's going on could just be summed up in this clip.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started, and there's a crowd that is.
This is generally a peaceful protest. It is not generally unruly. At the exact same time that there is a fire going on behind him. I don't understand how you can have this much cognitive dissonance, but I suppose anything for the narrative. Dem Black Lives Matter protests didn't do nothing, I suppose. Anyway, as promised before, we've got some more hot takes. Mainstream media Blacktivist Jemele Hill has said on Twitter, Trump to the white people with AR-15s throwing a temper tantrum over a haircut. Liberate. Trump to those protesting the lack of justice in Minneapolis. Thugs. A whole racist clown. Well, I'm sure for those of you that have actually watched this video all the way through and seen the evidence, I think we can point out the differences between these riots and the protests of people with guns outside city halls. But I think the hottest of hot takes had to come from the amazing atheist, a man who is unfortunately still gracing us on the internet. In a now deleted tweet, TJ essentially said that it's okay to riot because they're insured. And once again, we have our gammon Easter worshipper biting back. He asks TJ, can we burn down your home or possessions? To which the amazing atheist idiotically replies, is that a threat? But then our boy Rubber chimes in saying, a question. Well, would you be okay if it were your home that got burned? And the amazing atheist says, obviously not, that is a moronic question. Oh, amazing atheist, I don't think you've realised that you have just said the stupidest thing you probably could in that situation. Then again, I don't think it was ever going to improve from riots are okay because businesses are insured. If TJ ever gets into the real world, he might start having good takes for once. But after all the backlash from that absolutely asinine tweet, he sent out this one saying, alright, fuck this, blocking bootlickers. And then Shu and Styx Hex and Hammer decide to have a little chat. So, Shu says, they're either legitimate sociopaths at this point or beyond brainwashed. Yes, Shu, am I brainwashed for thinking that rioting is bad and destroying and burning down your own hometown community or any other community for that matter is bad? If I'm brainwashed for respecting property rights, then I'm happy to be brainwashed. But Styx chimes in to say, some of us are just tired of the constant tidal waves of propaganda trying to tell us that people burning their own cities are protesters. There isn't a person in the world defending the cop that killed George Floyd. There isn't a sane person defending the looters. Shu then replies, us? I love how you grouped yourself in with the bootlickers. Yes, there are people defending the officer, and I've been dealing with them for the past 72 hours. There's even one on this thread replying to you. I mean, sure, Shu, there are probably people defending the police officer, and those people are obviously wrong. But the problem is that you are conflating people criticising these rioters with people defending that police officer. It is entirely possible to think that police officer deserves justice handed to him on a platter, and people who also think the same thing of the rioters. Hence I made this video. But anyway, it appears that the skeptics of old have all just gone full-on leftist, and to be quite frank, I couldn't care less. These people were talented at making videos and making funny jokes, but it leaves a lot to be desired if you go to them for any sort of political or philosophical insight. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm the best content creator ever, but I do have to say that some of my favourite content creators are the ones that do have in-depth takes on current events, economics, politics, philosophy, etc. And I do hope some of you out there in the audience think the same of me. However, that is everything I had for you as of now. Please don't riot, it doesn't help anything. All it is going to do is make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. You keep saying and believing that America is a white supremacy, one day you are going to end up with that, and you are not going to like it very much. Try and live cohesively, try and pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and try and take personal responsibility. You never know, you might find more meaning than breaking into stores, robbing everything you can, and setting fire to it. But what do I know? I've only spent my entire life not committing crimes. Alright, that'll do for now. So, as usual, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.